Okay, next up we have Jen Dixon. Jen, you want to come on forward? Jen is a chick enjoying the experiences of life one day at a time. She contributes and co-hosts The Walking Eye, a respected gaming podcast focused on story games. She hosts the open mic night here, which is after this, so if you're looking for something cool to do, hang out. And travels speaking about women in geek gaming culture. Let's give her a big round of applause, you guys.
I'm all nervous. All right, so I just want to say hello, everybody. I'm going to out myself right now. My name is Jen Dixon, and I'm a geek. It's true. I've been gaming for a lot of years, and I have a shitty job, and I have to find ways that I can actually get a little creativity in my life, because I sure as hell don't do it during my 8 to 5. So I need to find ways to recharge, right? And so I have to think to myself, what the hell can I do to have a little bit of creativity and a little bit of fun in my life, because I'm sure as hell not doing it during the day. So to recharge, I got to think of creative things to do, and being a geek, I've kind of decided the best thing to do is game, okay? So here we have a bunch of video games. Any video gamers in the house? Yeah, that's right. This is how I de-stress a good portion of the time. I love playing video games, but the problem with video games is you do them on your own. They're a solitary activity for the most part. You have online communities and all that, but it's just not the same as sitting around a table and actually playing a game. So what I do is I play what's called role-playing games. All you need for this is some dice, some pencils, whatever books you want to play from, and maybe a piece of paper or a character sheet. What these games are is you sit around together, and sometimes you get drunk, sometimes you just have some fun, but generally you end up creating a story. Here's a picture of me at a con. Now, a convention is a very terrifying place for all you normies out there. But a little kind of window into it is we sit around tables with strangers generally, and we start playing games. We sit down, decide a game that we want to play, a genre, pick something, and then someone runs it, and we end up playing the rest of the day. Now, most of you guys have heard of Dungeons and Dragons, yes? First thing that comes to my mind when I think of Dungeons and Dragons is sweaty, chubby guys eating Cheetos and drinking Doritos in a crammed dorm room. Which is totally cool, like, don't get me wrong, that's awesome. But games have grown up. Awesome. And it's time that we grow up too. Dungeons and Dragons isn't what it's all about, it's about the story games. When you're playing a story game with people, you're sitting down with people that you love, you have friends, you're kind of setting an atmosphere for the evening. So what I generally like to do is make sure I have a kind of a poker night scenario here. We sit around a table, we get to know our friends, but instead of throwing dice and cards, instead of throwing cards and chips on the table, we're throwing dice to find out how badass our character is, or to see if I can actually throw this rock to the moon, or even doing cool things like figuring out how one society is melding with another in sci-fi technology. This is my gaming table. Gorgeous, right? I know you want some. It's very sexy. But this is how gaming has grown up for me. We're playing Apocalypse World here, and we have fabulous wine, fabulous cheese. This is what gaming is. So when you think about it, don't think about those sweaty guys. Think about things like that. This here is some of my indie games, and actually this one right here, 44, Matt Snyder, who actually lives here in Des Moines, wrote that game. But there are all these little tiny pamphlets, and each game represents a different type of genre mentality. In Wicked Age in the upper right-hand corner, that's like Conan and Conan the Barbarian and like swords and sorcery. There's sci-fi games. There's also games that are made for little kids. Happy Birthday Robot was written by Daniel Solis, and it's meant to show little kids how to actually write a story. Though this is awesome, this isn't exactly the type of game that I like to play. I'm an adult, my friends are adults, and we like sex and violence. I mean, who doesn't, right? So we like to play games where there's challenges and it's an interesting story. It's basically like creating a movie or a TV series that you're interested in. Excuse me very much. But we're all adults, and sometimes you have to know where the lines are. I apparently don't have any lines. But not everybody wants to play about rape or murder or torture, and so we actually set up at our table conversations of what's acceptable and what's not. So it's not all crazy and out there, but it's still a lot of fun, and you can push your boundaries as long as everyone's comfortable with it. The next couple of screens here are actually just some shots from different covers of games that I like to play. And for those who kind of don't understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about gaming, I'll give you kind of a description here. All of these games are little pamphlets that somebody wrote in their past time for the most part. It's something that they loved and were interested in. This one, for example, A Penny for My Thoughts, was written by a gentleman named Paul Tevis, and he's actually an improvisational actor. And he wrote this game so that people could kind of figure out how to work improv into their games. These games aren't just to kind of go have fun, but they work your brain, they work your creativity. It lets you kind of innovate, and by exercising your mind and playing games where you're a crazy group of Christian rock banders who go terribly wrong, in Fiasco, for example, you learn a little bit of mental quickness and how to create a story or how to come up with a new idea. And all of those ideas can help you in your day-to-day life. I would love at some point to run these types of games for businesses as a way to kind of get their people to let down their guard and kind of chill out and then come back to their workplace more creative and kind of more interesting. Human Contact is a good example of a game that is funded by people who wanted to see the game. Does anyone know what Kickstarter is up there? No. Okay, check out Kickstarter, because this game was actually funded totally online by people who wanted to support the game. And Apocalypse World, I just want to say, if you're into the post-apocalyptic genre, wastelands, sewers, murder, mayhem, sex, violence, this is the game that you play with your friends. And it's the one that I'm having the most fun with right now. And it's also an example of how some games aren't meant for everybody. That game has actual sex moves in it, where you get benefits from playing with other characters, but you all do this at the table. It's not actually happening. So my time's about up, but I just want to say the reason I got into this was for our podcast, which is The Walking Eye, and I have some cards if you want to check them out. But if you want to hear what it's like to actually play a game, you can hop on our website and listen to a podcast. So I guess the last thing I have to say is next time you think about it and someone asks, you should definitely play a game.